I think the world title has the most prestige actually. I think like a lot of people's like I think a lot of people have like their like the senses, the instinct is to say Evo, but in my mind, I feel like the world tour kind of has a little bit more prestige. I mean, in my mind it does, you know. I feel like a lot of people will probably say Evo, but I feel like the world tour is more like targeted, more niche. You know, this is like we're talking about people like this is focused specifically on a game, and we're talking about people coming, showing up specifically to play your game, just that game. I put it to you: do you think that would you, if you're going to put up like the what's called somebody who won like let's say Tekken 8 at Evo versus somebody who won the Tekken 8 World Tour, who do you think? Who would you say you think? Who would you put your money on is going to win that match?
You said who now? Yeah.
But he won both. I ain't gonna lie, me. I'm probably gonna put it on the Tekken World Tour one.
Mr. Game and Lift.
Yeah, I guess I'll say that one. Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's like I just like, so we're all in agreement then, right? Like in a situation like that, we you know, we're in that particular situation, we're saying, okay, like the world tour for whoever of the same game, that world tour player, what we would say would beat the EVO champ, right? Whoever won EVO. So
that's a hard
also
one,
depends
man.
on the person too, because you're just throwing out a title.
That's a hard one,
Like,
though,
it'd
man.
be hard.
No, like I'm saying
Because
that
a Capcom Cup title winner could be, let's just say Knuckle Dude, and then the Evo champion is Tokido. Who do I think will win? I mean, I'm going Tokido. So I guess it also depends on the player too.
Man,
I mean, yeah, but if you,
I mean, he looked crazy now too, but I mean, you know,
if you have two people, let's say the
money.
exact, if both people are Arslan Ash and they're about to play each other, which Arslan Ash are you betting your money on? The one that won Evo or the one that won Tekken World Tour?
Evo.
They're the same person. I'm sorry. It's hard to answer the question.
All right. Well, anyway, you know, this is what happens when you try to you try to get interaction from the other people during your take. Never again.
We did.
So,
I mean, we asked the question, man. What you want?
yeah. You know what? There are several, you know what? Like kids give answers in class all the time, and sometimes they're wrong answers. So it's
the wrong question.
How's it the wrong question? How's it the wrong question?
Bro, just debate your case, man.
Goodness gracious, man. Oh man. But anyway, yeah, like in my opinion, I feel like a world tour is a little bit more prestigious because like it's like, you know, you have to go, like it's all based on it, like for you to even show up at like the final level, you've had to have grinded out like for a hot minute. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like it's not like it just feels like there's a lot more behind like the world tour, I feel like, because like I mean, generally speaking, when you're going to Evo, like you can just show up at Evo, you know what I mean? Like you just show up and it's like, all right, did you pay your money? All right, cool, go get in there, go fight somebody. But like world tour, for the Tekken World Tour, there's a lot, you're vetted, man. You gotta overcome hurdles coming up to like the actual event, like the main event, you know. And it's like over like a few months, I think, right? Like it's over a few months. Like it's not like an easy qualifier. So I don't know, man. I feel like there's a lot more work that you got to put in. Like you can't just show up and be like, hey, here I am, I'm ready for Tekken World Tour finals. It's like, whoa, bro, like this has been months in it. Like you've had to have started like months ago to qualify to be here. You haven't done any of the prep work to show up. You know, I think there's something to that where like you actually have to prove yourself to show up to actually be a part of the main event. You know, like yeah, at Evo you do have to like kind of grind it out over what, like 3 days, but like, man, for somebody to like grind out like a what's called like the World Tour over like a couple months, like, that's tough, man. Like to make like to not just be like, okay, well, I've been training in like, with my buddies here in my local area, and then I'm just gonna go to Las Vegas. It's like, nah, man, you gotta actually like take it a step further and actually travel to go to some of these places and get enough points to qualify. And then you have to deal with like the fact that maybe I didn't make it. Then I guess I got to head out to last chance qualifiers and stuff. Like it's a more, I would say it's a more arduous process, I mean, yeah, like, because I mean, yeah, like a lot of tough people are going to be in Vegas. That is guaranteed. But at the same time, like, I mean, you're already there. You don't have to go anywhere, especially if you have the right hotel room. There's no real stress. You're just gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna go back upstairs, go to sleep, come back downstairs, and here we are. We're back in the ballroom. As opposed to like, having to make plans, go to different states, different cities, actually get out there and really put your best foot forward in qualifying and stuff like that. I feel like there's like the pedigree is a little bit higher, I think, especially considering the fact that, what it all comes down to is that the best people, like the best people that, but I mean, either way, whether you go to Las Vegas or you're traveling around for World Tour, you're going to have the money to travel anyway. So yeah, I would say, yeah, final answer, World Tour, more prestigious in my mind.
One thing I'll say before I give my take, I will give you this, is that in terms of like the world qualifier, if you look at it how the Olympics are done, they do it kind of the same way, and that's what they usually do. Like they do these qualifiers and these events in certain areas, and then you progress, the higher you placed, and you go on to the next event. So I will say that is more akin to like the Olympics, and that's like probably one of, if not, I probably would say it's the biggest like event of like world winnings, like where like the US, they won for the world. So like these are world champions. But I think I'm still gonna have to say Evo, and my reasoning for Evo is that, so Street Fighter 6, the first time that it was like 7,000 entrants. Think about that, 7,000, not just like, okay, I'm gonna fight this group of people on this event, right? And it's not, it's usually just, it's maybe like, what you say, maybe 100 and something people, maybe 40 some people in like some type of bracket, they will it down. But 7,000 people, if I'm not mistaken, entered Street Fighter 6 for this first time in Evo. That's a lot of people. And I know people might say, well, a lot of those people are just fodders, a lot of string bean 525s in there. I mean, that's also in itself a very volatile element. I remember Justin Wong even saying, it's like, you got to learn how to play against people that are random. You got to learn,
Yeah.
sometimes playing against people that you think you're better than, you might be more methodical and strategic. Then you have to learn how to beat those people, because if they do the right, they can run over you. I remember, I forgot what video this was, but I do remember Justin Wong saying this. You have to learn to play against those people just like you play against people that are top level players that are smart and strategic. So you might, the threat of Burger King 525 in the bracket is a real thing. The threat of Subway guy 596, that's a real thing. That's literally a top player named Hot Dog. I forgot, I think it's 22, but there's a player like in Japan named Hot Dog, and he's a very good player. So you see that name in bracket, oh, this dude, whatever. This might be the best player in some region. You just walk up against, like, man, that boy Rice Krispie 65 was beating my face in, like. But so I think the element of just not knowing who's there. And also, let me backtrack this, right? EVO was considered the world title before all these other world tours started. And this has been like for a long time now. You got other stuff like SBO, but that's like really Japan only. You got EVO Japan, but EVO EVO has been considered that thing, the world champion, for the longest time. When these world tours just kind of started in the recent past years. But man, the element of surprise, man, the fact that you're there for 3 days, there's a lot going on. There's people everywhere. There's sounds, there's smells, there's sights, all this stuff going on. You probably sit down and playing against somebody, and you still thinking about that $100 cheeseburger you just spent money on that didn't taste good. You like, man, so you depressed now that cheeseburger was garbage, and you like, man, I got to play this match. You might somebody people the brackets, something might happen with the brackets. It's all type of stuff that could go on. And like I said, 7,000 people. You do not know who is in this bracket that you don't know of, right? You're looking for the people that you know, the household names, but there's gonna be some people come through that you be like, man, you don't. I mean, did Capcom Cup just not show us this? That players that were maybe lesser known by some people came through there bodying people. Let's say you got a Kusanagi in bracket. Now you got to worry about somebody wake up DP and every time. Like, you just don't even know. Like, man, when the next EXDP gonna come? I don't know. So it's almost kind of like the thing. I remember I forgot the guy's name, but he was one of the 4x4 runners for the US, and he made a tweet. He's like, when they win the championship in the NBA, it's like you're world champions. He's like, well, how you only played against teams in America?
Noah Lyle.
Yeah.
Noah Lyle.
And people were like, "Oh, what is this dude talking about? The best talents in the NBA." It's like, that's true, and maybe also not true, because a lot of players in the NBA are not from America. They are Djokovic, right? Luka Doncic. Those two players are not American-born players, and they're two of the best players in the NBA. So who's to say that there's not a lot of other Djokovic and Luka Doncic out there? You don't necessarily know if you haven't played against everybody. So the fact that EVO, I know with the World Tour, just like you go to these places, but there's just such a bigger pool of people that can come from anywhere that you just don't know anything about. You have no data on them. Another thing is, those World Finals, a lot of those players you already know their household names. So you can go watch match footage on them. You can go see how they play. You can go study their videos. You go to EVO, most of the time, for a lot of people in that bracket, there is none of that. There's no footage, there's no data, there's no anything. You just playing people for the first time ever. So I still think EVO is the thing that's like, hey, it's just such a bigger pool of players. And again, like I said, some people might say, well, a lot of those players are just like, they're just garbage. Like, all right, you're gonna run up on Twizzler Man 252, and he gonna be like, I got the best king in the world. What's up? But no, I got the best king in the world. So I'm gonna still say EVO. And this is still a weird question because, like I said earlier, EVO was the world title until these other world tours started happening. EVO was the pinnacle. Like, if you win EVO, you are the world champion. So you kind of have to, like we're doing now, you kind of have to bring up the different elements of it that kind of make it different. And like I said, I give this that, like, when you do the world tours, it is more of like an Olympic style like ranking thing. But I don't know, man, just that random factor of like, hey, I'm the best. If all these people are here, we're playing against a bigger pool, I'm gonna give it to EVO.
Before I get my take, fans, I'd like to say we're trying to usher in a new season of making these podcasts shorter. So I apologize if they're too long for you. It's just today these topics just need to be dived into
You gotta let
a
them breathe a
lot.
little bit.
Yeah, it's just one of those things you just kind of like throw the clock out the window. But so when you compare these two, the hardest thing is talking about the world tours because Evo has been the same basically for forever. Everybody and their mama pack into a plane or pack into a car, drive to Las Vegas. You get to Las Vegas, and for 3 days, you're sweating it out in bracket, trying to be the last man standing. Now, one thing so let's break down Evo. 3-day event, an event of endurance. Can you play consistently well for 3 days in a row and make it to the top 8, dealing with all types of randomness? It could be the players that you're playing. It could be people that literally come up and they're just rubbing the controller with their nose. It could be bad setups. It could be, laggy monitors. It could be overheating consoles. It could be, you know, you walked in, slipped on a piece of ice that some kid had laying around, and all of a sudden you flung your controller across the stadium and it hit the ground and split into 16 million pieces, which happens all the time. That specific situation I just said. But at the end of the day, controller issues. I remember Chris G being at tournaments and him basically saying my controller just basically laid an egg. Can somebody please give me a controller? Like, you have so much stuff that can happen at an Evo that to win Evo out of all this randomness is a feat that, like Devin said, for a long time before these world tours came, was the highest honor that you could win, because everybody in a me mama was gonna be at Evo. So I mean, to win, it was just like the highest prestige. So we basically kind of know what Evo is. It's a test of endurance, a test of will, you know. And then to get to that top 8, and you got to play the best that you have throughout the whole weekend. You've already been playing for 2 days straight, you know, especially the second day when you start weeding into, like, we got to make sure everything gets done as we go into this third day. You could be playing multiple matches. But also, a thing about Evo, you could say it's 7,000 people in the bracket. It's not like you played all 7,000. You played your specific few. So I mean, most of the competition is going to be knocked out by other people, so you can only literally play the man that's in front of you. So it's not like you literally have to beat every single person at the event. Now, when you get to these world tours have changed so much throughout time. Um, you have some world tours that when you get there, everybody that gets there, you have to play a round robin for to see who's going to be the top 16. Now you have to basically beat everybody that they put into your group. So there could be, like, you know, if there's 32 people that qualify and we're knocking it down to top 8, there's only going, I mean, for you for the qualify for the top 8, you only have to beat the 3 people that's in front of you. Those other people, you only got to beat 3 to get into the top 8. All those other people, I mean, you could have the people that you did not want to see, they all the way in other different groups. So you don't got to see them at all. You know, just like what happened with the last Capcom Cup. You had Angry Bird, Mena RD, Kaba, Lashar, and all of them in one group. And Lashar and Mena RD basically made sure they took the Evo champ and everybody out, and you didn't have to see them at all. All you have to do is beat your 3 in your group, which probably might have been a weaker group, and you win. And then you could go on and win Capcom Cup. That's stuff you have to take into account. You have other places, you have other events to where, like, for you to get in, all you got to do is win the qualifier in your region. They give you 2 chances to do it. So let's just say you're in a region that where there's not a lot of competition. I mean, it could be easy for to win your 2, unlike, you know, Japan only had 2 times to get in, and they got killers, you know, and only 2 people gonna make it out. That stuff you got to take into account. So it's like it's so many different factors depending on which world tour you're talking about. And then, like, when it comes to, like, the early days of Capcom Cup didn't start doing last chance qualifiers until 2017. Last chance qualifiers are common now. So before then, if you didn't rank off winning a premiere or points, you wasn't winning no Capcom Cup. You wasn't sniffing no Capcom Cup, you know. And then back in the day, everybody wanted to qualify for points so much that you would have the same people going to each event, traveling to each event. So it's like, dang, Daigo just won the dang thing last time. Why are you here again? Like, I'm trying to get in, you know. And you seeing the same exact people every tournament that could be your kryptonite, and you gotta see them every tournament. People will win premieres, win Evo, automatically qualify, still coming to the event. Like, bro, you in. What you doing? You gatekeeping, you know. But it's like, hey man, I'm here to practice. I gotta practice throughout time for the get ready for the tournament. I'm sorry. Like, you can't beat me, you can't beat me. So back then, it was like them early days of Capcom Cup. I'm talking, if you qualified back then, when these Japan, Asian, all these different countries were traveling to every event, it was no event that was being taken out. People was going to, I remember back in the day, like, people going to final round, you know. People was coming from Japan to final round. They was going to every tournament. You don't see that nowadays, you know. You don't see Daigo at every event. You don't see Tokido at every event. You know, with this internet and stuff now, they've made it to where it's easier for them just to stay where they are and qualify for stuff. You know, so it depends on what we talking about with these world tours. Because nowadays with online and stuff like that, yes, it has made it more accessible, but it's also kind of like made it easier and stuff like that because you ain't got to travel like that, and then you ain't got to get there and just try to win when you're fighting the best players every time. So I think like as we nowadays, it really depends on what I think. It might be harder to win Guilty Gear Strive at Evo than it is to win Guilty Gear Strive at their World Tour. Just my personal opinion. Like when all you got to do is win like an online qualifier, then you get there, and then they're doing round robins for specific groups for you to get to the top 8. Then when you get to the top 8, it's like, okay, if the killers have made it, then this is when I kind of got to go through everybody. But with some like with so many different things now, it's like so many different ways these things are ran, you know. But I think back in the day, like when the early days of Capcom Cup, I think that was harder than Evo. Because not only did you have to go to Evo and fight, like every tournament was almost like an Evo. Every tournament. So I think the early days, like when Capcom Cup and stuff were doing it, was easier. But nowadays, I might lean more towards Evo, with just like, you know, the randomness, the endurance, and anybody and everybody you could fight. You could fight somebody you know don't know who they are. They tech what they doing. Like Devin said, with most of these people, when you get to the World Tour, you know who they are. You know what to do. You know, you already got your plans and your strategy. Like when Luffy fought Mena RD, everybody had a issue with Mena RD, but then when Luffy fought him, it looked like Luffy had the tech on him, just ran through him. You know, because he had plan. So, you know, you can't
Well,
really do that a lot at Evo. So,
well, on that tip though, do you think like if Mena RD had like wins that battle, do you think that means more? Do you think that means more? Like, you know what I mean? It's all about perspective at that point, because if I'm somebody who like comes into a fight and I know the other person basically has my whole profile downloaded, you know, like they basically, I'm playing the game, I'm doing this on the hardest difficulty because this is somebody who's built up a profile. They know the tech and everything, you know, and I beat them, you know. I'm gonna feel I don't know, I'm gonna feel some type of way about beating somebody who basically had all the information needed and pretty much, you know, had everything they needed in order to beat me, you know. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, that is something that you can look at and you can just be like, that person is the truth because he got the download on him and he still beat him. So you start seeing stuff like that when you start probably getting into like the top 8s of Evo. But shoot, in recent years, we're starting to see more and more people. When you get to the top 8s of Evo, it's new faces, you know. So you really can't really say that too much with Evo anymore because it's like you seeing new faces in top 8s. So to end it, you know, I've been going on for a while. I think the early state, like when Capcom Cup and them was first out, it wasn't no LCQ. Every tournament, you was gonna fight all the killers. You was gonna fight them every single time. If you just didn't get your point, you wasn't gonna make it. And it's a good chance that you weren't gonna get your points because a lot of people was gatekeeping and stuff back then. I think that had more prestige than the Capcom Cup. But nowadays, I think like with like how easy it is to kind of like qualify and stuff like that, I think it's still Evo that has more prestige now. But if we changed it to how I said we should change it when it come to these world tours and stuff, you treat it like Red Bull Kumite, single elimination, best of 9. When you get to a world tour, if we all supposed to be the best players of this game in the world, put you in a best of 9, and whoever comes out typically winning a best of 9, you know this is the person. He better than that guy. I beat you 5 games out of 9. Most times it ain't gonna go 5-4 every time. I'm better than you. You know, anything can happen in a first to 2 or first to 3. You
Yeah.
know, so I think if you add a single elimination to these World Tour finals, it definitely give it more prestige. But you know, a lot of players don't like that. So, but I'm just like, I mean, it show you who the best though.
I mean,
So
a lot of players also didn't like leverless controllers, and look where we are at now. So
that's true. That's facts. We did a video on that a while ago. Y'all go check it out.